Middle of the night, so it looks like a corpse again. Sorry, my schedule is weird lately that this is the time I have to make videos. I made a video about attachment style and how that affects people with avoidant personality disorder. And I got a comment on it. Now, I'm really a little bit sensitive right now about I'm afraid I'm going to come off like I'm like picking on people, which is not the point at all. And I'm going to make a video about this. I actually replied to the comment, except that I've been thinking about it, and I think there's like a real point in a separate video. So the point of this is not just like talk about a comment. There is a point. I'm getting to it. Anyway, but the comment said that they didn't like how I misrepresented attachment style and was hurt by people that do this. Okay, which, let me break that down in like 96 ways. First of all, I said right straight up in the video that attachment style is like not my thing. I know they both have the same word, avoidant, other than that, not my thing. And the reason why it's not my thing is that it is not diagnosable at all. It is not in the DSM. And, you know, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there has to be a line drawn. And I've talked about this, I think I've repeated it like 6 times in the last videos, is that it's important to pay attention to the primary issue that you have and focus on that. And that if you've got something that's big enough to be diagnosable, and I mean, it could change. They could put it in the DSM. I don't think they are. It's not something that's so extreme that it's going to stop your life. It's also something that can be adapted and changed. It's not a permanent or fixed thing as having an attachment style. And yeah, there are 2 avoidant attachment styles, you know, and apparently, according to the person who posted, I picked the wrong one to talk about. Oh well, like I said, I'm not an expert. I said right straight up I was not an expert. So there we go. But now this is like the real point of this video. It's sort of like a double whammy, and I'm sure I'm repeating myself. I'm sure that I'm repeating myself. Okay, they're definitely repeating myself. The thing is this. I truly think that getting a diagnosis is a very positive step for people to do, because then you don't have to worry. Then you know for sure what is going on with you, and it's like a starting point to make a positive change. If you're just floundering around in the universe and you don't have a starting point, it's going to take forever for you to figure your way through to get to a better place. And if you can nail down a starting point, okay, there we go. Then you can figure your path, and it just makes things easier. The thing is that even though I am extremely pro diagnosis and really figuring out what is going on with you, I am very, very strongly against thinking that your diagnosis, whatever it is, if it's a trait or a style or an actual PD or anything, that is not your identity. It should never be your identity. Among the reasons is because these diagnoses change. What they are, when you've got a diagnosis, it's sort of shorthand for a group of traits, and also it sort of puts you on a scale to see exactly how bad you've got it. That's a really weird way of putting it. Not exactly positive. But that's all it is. It's shorthand. It is a bunch of traits. You don't even have to have them all. and it changes. The DSM just changed, what was it, like 3 years ago? And the diagnostic criteria for avoidant personality disorder changed. And there were a bunch of people who had it before who don't have it now, and nothing at all has changed about them at all in their personality or how they live their life or anything. The only thing is that they don't have this exact match of the shorthand of symptoms, which is avoidant personality disorder. So really, don't get caught up in any of these things. The reason why it was so irksome to me, I'm going to tell you right straight up. I mean, you've heard, I've been pretty open about me going through some stuff lately. And I've been pretty open about, certain aspects of other people that are toxic to me, where normally I could handle them a little bit, are now off the charts because I've got so much other stuff going on that I just like, it is like neon flashing lights when something comes up. And you're gonna say, I'm not trying to pick on somebody. I am not trying to diagnose. It is a fact. If you think that your identity is based on a label or anything like that, that is absolutely classic borderline trait, which is probably why it's like, because normally I would be like, okay, whatever, just ignore that comment. I ignore a lot of comments. I talk back in a lot of comments, but the ones that are like negative, normally, whatever, don't even pay any attention to it whatsoever. But that one, it was specifically, the person said that she was hurt because I didn't say what she wanted to hear. And, she identifies so closely with the label and her impression of what it means to have this thing that's not even, it's not even diagnosable. It's a theory that's out there. If you get so caught up in that, I would work on that. I mean, and for that person individually, I would work on that a lot. Because what happens if they suddenly go, oh, we're going to say there are no attachment styles at all. We got it wrong. Boom, they're gone. We're poof, they're history. What are you going to do if they change the DSM again and you no longer qualify as an avoidant person? What are you going to do? If you are truly 100% borderline, that would cause your world to cave in. And that's not even an exaggeration. And I actually have massive sympathy for these people, because I would not be able to function knowing that all somebody has to do is, change some little scenario out there, and that means that I don't exist anymore. And for them, that's really truly how it is. And that's why I'm saying that's like sort of a trait. Clear as a bell. If you're upset because you don't like the way somebody is describing a label that you identify with, borderline trait. Not borderline, because borderline people, they wouldn't be hurt. They would be utterly destroyed. People with avoidant personality disorder have strong sense of personality. They know who they are. They don't necessarily like it, and they don't necessarily want... actually, see, that's the thing. That's not completely accurate. I think that a lot of people who have avoidant personality disorder, when it comes down to it, and this is going to be so controversial, I think they do like themselves to a massive degree. They just don't think that they're appropriate or correct in their world. Somebody else asked me about my personal finances, etc., and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really going to talk about that. But I was talking to a friend of mine, today, and is just an absolute fact. I don't have credit cards. I hate credit. I hate the idea of it. I hate the idea of being beholden to somebody else and being stuck because I owe people. This is my personal thing. I hate it. It causes unbelievable panic attacks. It's just me. And you know what? I am like a bad human now, because it's normal to have credit. Okay? So I'm not correct. I don't fit into the world, but damn straight, I like the fact that I don't have credit cards and I don't have to pay them. So I'm weird. I'm abnormal, and I like it. Um, so I think that a lot of people that are avoidant actually, some of it's really annoying, some of it's really limiting, some of it's like, oh God, I just wish I could just break out of this. But when it comes down to it, they actually do like what they are. And I get comments all the time. Is it weird that I think I'm better than everybody else? Is this an avoidant thing? Is that awful of me? Should I judge myself because I think I'm better than everybody else? And it's truth, you know? I mean, avoidant people, because they perceive the judgment, they judge also. And it's something that you really have to be aware of. But it's part of the deal. But, you know, my identity is not bound in any way, shape, or form by this label. I always called it the alphabet soup. I've got these diagnoses. I've got the whole bunch of them. You know, it's like the people who have a whole bunch of degrees and they have all the letters after their name. That's all it is. It's a bunch of letters. Who cares? Who cares what the actual diagnosis is? Like I said, except it gives you a starting point. Your identity is not the diagnosis. And if you're caught up in that, I mean, it's something that you can research and everything else, but if the problem is, you know, avoidant personality disorder already keeps you in a pretty tight cage, because, you know, you can't really interact with people. And if you're tightening the grips on that more because you're saying, okay, this is me, I have this thing, because again, even if you have avoidant personality disorder, that is a group of traits. And avoidant personality disorder is permanent, but the degree that those traits affect you and how they manifest, etc., they can shift and they can change. And if you're stuck with this idea that this is my label, this is what I am, and if anybody tries to, you know, talk about it in a way that doesn't fit with my impression of it, that's going to, you know, turn me upside down. Okay, again, there's like a few problems with that. Among them is you're keeping yourself in the box. And there are things that you could do that could possibly change. I mean, if you say, especially an attachment style, yes, an attachment style is based on how you grew up, but attachment style is definitely one of those things that as soon as you become aware that this is how you're behaving, that alone will change how you interact with people. And you do have choices, and you're not completely stuck with, this is how I am forever, especially with an attachment style. If it was a permanent thing, it would be in the DSM, right? So don't get stuck on the labels, any label at all. And if you feel like it's your identity is based on, I have to have this thing, that is, again, that's a borderline trait. I have borderline traits. They come and go. Every once in a while, I'm like wacky. I shouldn't describe borderline as wacky, but seriously, every once in a while, I act very non-avoidant, and, you know, there's another trait. Every once in a while, I'm very narcissist. I think I've been narcissist in this video. You know, every human being on the planet has every single one of all of these traits at some point in their life. But again, if you're aware of it and you really look into it, that's one thing I would so recommend. Don't make yourself a slave to the labels. Don't shackle yourself down even more. Label doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It just gives you a starting point, and then now you know the path you have to take to make your life better. Don't get caught up in, this label is my identity. That will just screw yourself over, so don't do that.